Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining Tiger Brands and Eat Well, Live Well today, as we all strive towards making healthier, balanced, and more active lifestyle possible for all South Africans. So my name is Sarvesh Sitharam. I am the Corporate and Group Marketing Strategy Director at Tiger Brands, and I have the immense pleasure of being your MC for today's launch of the second annual State of Nutrition in South Africa report. So really glad that we could have you all with us here today. A few guidelines to take you through the rest of this morning session. Now, many of you would be either Zoomed out or Microsoft Teamed out or even Skyped out from the multiple meetings that we have on the various platforms available to us nowadays. And Remo may well be a new platform for you altogether. So here's a few guidelines to help you navigate the platform and to get maximum versatility and usability out of it. So as I said, we're being hosted on Remo today, and it's an interactive conferencing platform. Will really allow you a lot more opportunities to engage with us as the MC, the panelists, a few of the speakers, and more generally as the broader group when we get into the Q&A section. So let's make sure that we fully optimize the benefit that we see coming through from the Remo platform. A few things that I want to call out is that the mode you're currently in is called the presentation mode. Now, this is the presentation mode because it means that we're presenting and you can all see and hear me, but unfortunately, I am on a virtual stage, so I cannot see or hear you. Now, this takes away a bit of the energy of an in-person event, as I know that often many of us enjoy and probably miss having probably not been a part of one over the last 18 months. But we do the best we can under circumstances and hoping that this platform still allows you to feel the level of engagement to a large degree that you would have felt in person. So we want to hear from you during the course of this session. So you have two opportunities to do that. The first one is the chat bot, and here you can just note down some of your observations, what you're feeling about a particular topic, a speaker. Do you like them? Don't you like them? Are they saying the right thing? Do you agree or not? And let's hope that sort of starts the chatter in that section. But separate and within that section, you also have the ability to have chats. Now, this is where some of the versatility of the platform comes through, where you can choose to chat with the general population on the platform at the moment. And if you so do, in the chat bot, if you go through it, everyone can see it. And in there, you could probably share some of your experiences that will no doubt hold some benefit for everyone else on the call. The other alternative you have is to have a table chat. So those of you that have come in a bit earlier and able to mingle with different individuals across the various tables, you'll recognize that it offers you the opportunity to have a chat just with the individuals that you're sitting around. So much like when you're in a real life event, you sit at a table, hopefully with people you like or people you want to get to know, and you have a chat with them. And in this instance, it's exactly the same. So only the people at the table can hear what it is that you have to say. And let's hope you enjoy those private conversations in the confines of your table. The third option that you have has to do with a private chat. Now here, if there's anyone that's come up on the participants list that you find that you either know and want to say hello to, or someone that you've been meaning to connect with that you now want to open a conversation on, you have the ability to open a private chat with that individual. So go into the participants list, select private chat, and there you go. So hopefully there's a lot of chatting going on, hopefully around the topic that we're talking about today, but also for you to be able to engage with people that you want to engage with that you may not have seen for a long while. The other functionality that I want to take you through has to do with the Q&A. Now, this is very different from the chat, and it's important that you use it as we would like you to. And as Q&A suggests, it's the repository where you're going to put in all of the questions that pop into your head about things you like or don't like, and just questions of interest that you have that our moderators will be sifting through and actually allowing the panelists to revert on at come the end of the session. So if you want to, please do use that. Now, I wouldn't hope that anyone on this call is actually at all shy or nervous about putting through a question. But in the off chance that you are, please can you also then submit your question anonymously, and therefore you are completely anonymous and nobody knows who's asking it. So if there's a particularly, I wouldn't say controversial, but if you have a question that you're a little bit unsure whether you want to say it or not, hopefully the ability to ask that anonymously gives you the confidence to ask it regardless. All right. And then the last bit on the REMO guidelines really has to do with the support desk. Now, we know that this is a new platform. Even for myself and my team, when we first used it, we had to get to grips with the multiple functionalities that exist. And within that space, there is a help desk that you will see on the general floor plan. And if you just double click into that, at that help desk, there will be someone on hand to be able to answer any of your questions regarding the platform itself. So they're not going to answer whether drinking more water, having less sugar or having less salt is good for you or not. They're really there to help you with regards to understanding the platform. So just tempering your expectations. All of those other more challenging questions should go into your Q&A bot. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to all of you. And like I said, if any one of you requires a little bit more detail around it, please pop on over to the help desk where the REMO support staff will be happy to help you. Okay, so now getting into what you can expect from today's show and with regards to the running order. The event will be between 1.5 hours and 2 hours long, depending on how we get into the Q&A section, and we've just allowed ourselves some flexibility to ensure that we are giving you the enough time to be able to get those burning questions off your chest and for the panelists to be able to come back to you with an appropriate answer. We will begin promptly at 9:15 with an overview of the Institute, and which has made today's event possible, as well as the publication of the second State of Nutrition in South Africa report. Now, then this will be followed by our keynote address delivered by Becky Opdyke, who's the Chief Marketing Officer of Tiger Brands, and she'll expound on the purpose of Eat Well, Live Well, as well as the role of the company in relation to its newly launched nutrition strategy. Now, this aims to positively impact all South Africans, their health and their pockets. So I think it will be interesting to hear from Becky exactly how Tiger Brands aims to do that. Next, we will provide an overview as to how the independent research has been conducted, its methodology, and how it builds on last year's report, because this is year number 2 in terms of how we're building a body of evidence that informs better behavior amongst all South Africans. So we'll talk about how that methodology was put together and give you confidence that it was and is robust and therefore can be trusted in terms of the recommendations and the actions that we believe need to be taken forward. This will be followed by a short presentation on the report's key findings. Now, I must illustrate that it is a short presentation. The report goes into a lot more detail. So while we'll give you a bit of a teaser as to what the report says and a little bit about what you can do in relation to the findings, the real value of it is really by reading the report itself and taking action yourself. This will be done by a few Tiger Brands leaders within this space, as well as some of our key external stakeholders that have contributed to the report, as well as are with us here today to be able to talk about their pieces and take a few questions in the Q&A. And then we will open up the floor to all of the attendees to really take your Q&As, like I said, those that will be moderated through the session today, and anything that comes up during the Q&A session itself. So hopefully this very tight but impactful agenda gives you enough of a context and perspective interest to drive action in the space that's so important. We do encourage you to download the report, and this you can do from the Eat Well, Live Well website, which you can see the details on the screen in front of you. And we'd also like to hear your thoughts as you go through the day. Now, we recognize that not everyone wants to be put their hands up and give a question or wait to receive an answer. Some of you are actually very much into the social media space, and actually you want everyone that's connected to you to understand and get a sense of what it is that you are being exposed to in the now. And for those purposes, use any one of the social media channels that are at the bottom of the sheet and that will be repeated on every subsequent slide, so that you can live keep your followers abreast of what it is that you are hopefully being impacted by in this State of Nutrition report. So it is now 9:15, and as I promised, we're going to kick off at 9:15. So at least I'm keeping my word to the first bit of this agenda, and hopefully it holds true for the rest of it. So once again, thank you for joining. For everyone that was not with us in the first few minutes, let me say again that my name is Sarvesh Sitaram. We really appreciate you joining us today as we explore pertinent issues around our health, wellness, and well-being during a time when these have been elevated in importance. And I'm sure all of you will agree that it is particularly important, never more so than what we are experiencing right now. So hopefully there's a lot of engagement that we see on the platform. So we have a lot of participants at this particular moment. I think we just too short of 100, and we note that this was a by invite only. So we really appreciate as many as 98 having made the time and effort to join us. So hopefully this is of value to you in the time that you've afforded us. And while we appreciate the attendance of everyone on the call, we would particularly like to welcome Rebone Nsi, who is the Nutrition Director at the National Department of Health, Dr. Moshe Swartz, who's the Deputy Director General at the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, along with all of the various other government and industry stakeholders who are joining us today. We really appreciate your involvement and are really hoping that today's engagement really helps to spark not just the conversation, but also the action that will hopefully come through from that. So thank you very much for your time amidst your very busy schedules. So for the last time, for anyone that's just joined it, my name is Sarvesh Sitaram. I will be your MC for the launch of the second annual State of Nutrition in South Africa report 2021. And here's a little bit about me, so that I'm not just a face and a voice that you see for this first part of your day, but actually to understand who I am and how do I fit into the total picture that is EWLW. So I'm the Corporate and Group Marketing Strategy Director at Tiger Brands, and I head up EWLW. So for me, this is a very personal engagement with you, and we debated at length about do we get someone that's maybe not as connected to this event or to this initiative to come and talk to you, probably a lot better than I'm doing right now. But I think hopefully what we are able to bring through not just myself, but through the panel of speakers that you'll hear during the course of today, is that we believe that every one of us have a personal interest in driving the agenda that EWLW espouses. And for that reason alone, we are hopefully a lot more credible and bring forward a lot more meaningful additions to your understanding around health and nutrition that you can take forward in your lives. Now, why is this particularly important to me? So I'm a husband, which is important, but more importantly, I'm a father to two young kids, Sejal, who's 13, and Sahil, who's 10. And for me, my why as to why I want to be healthy and live a good life for as long as I possibly can is I want to see them reach the milestones that every parent wishes upon their kids, whether it is about completing their studies, sort of living a healthy life in whichever shape and form they do choose to take that in, and who knows, maybe even being a very active grandparent in many, many years to come, because they're still very young. But for me, that's my why. And my why gets me out of bed every day to make sure that I'm making healthy choices for myself that does actually positively impact the ability I have to live my why in the many years that lie ahead of me. And I think it's important for all of us to understand what our why is as we make individual steps towards our own well-being. Now, that's about ourselves as people and persons in our individual and family spaces. But I also have a responsibility as the leader of the Eat Well, Live Well program to ensure, and within Tiger Brands, to make an impact to the millions of consumers that we aim to touch every day with our products and our communication. And I think what one of my personal ambitions is in my career is to be able to make a bigger impact than was ever done before, and something that actually surpasses and lives beyond my particular role in these initiatives as it gets hopefully positively taken on by individuals after myself. So I think that's important, and it's important for us to understand what the why is that each of us bring to the table so that we are better able to push through and make all of the choices and decisions that inform our better life for us all. So I see we've just hit 100 people on here. So that's a magical milestone of getting at least 100 very influential people to be able to listen to our message. So thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. So let's talk about why we're here today, right? And the Eat Well, Live Well Institute forms part of Tiger Brand's nutrition initiative and is driven by the company's nutrition strategy. It's an educational platform that aims to become the leading voice of nutrition, health, and wellness in South Africa and across the continent, don't forget. It aims to empower consumers to make more informed decisions about their dietary intakes, food choices, and eating behaviors. After all, knowledge is power. Now, in this way, the Eat Well, Live Well Institute supports the government's efforts to drive education around making better eating choices to help reduce incidences of non-communicable diseases, particularly during a time when many of us have truly come to appreciate the importance of health and wellness. And I'm sure all of you will agree with me in that sense. Now, the Eat Well, Live Well Institute fulfills its mandate by driving best practice in terms of nutrition science, leading to responsible innovation, communication, and easy to understand educational resources for all. Now, it does so through the Eat Well, Live Well brand, which you can see also has a website, as well as social media channels such as Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Here you can find educational articles and resources that will help you work out your BMI, for example, become more active as a family, and be more mindful about your eating and snacking habits, because that's important for all of us to be able to make those choices that create a better impact in our spaces and beyond. Now, our Eat Well, Live Well website also has recipes, actually a dedicated recipes tab where you can find delicious, nutritious, and affordable recipes, whether you're looking for a quick breakfast recipe, lunch idea, or plans for date night, which you may not be able to have going out nowadays. Now, some people may ask, why is recipes so important? And I'll tell you exactly why, because recipes are the manifestation of the positive choices that you make, whether it be in thinking about what's good for you, choosing what's good for you at the shelf when you're shopping, whether it be online or just click, or in person, or how you actually use those groceries when you're actually constituting a meal back at home. So recipes actually are the manifestation of it on the Eat Well side of it. Obviously, there's a lot more around living well that goes beyond just recipes, but we'll talk more about that a bit later. Now, as part of this year's launch, we've added new and will continue to add even more recipes so that we can continue to inspire you to be able to live a healthier lifestyle and almost demystify sometimes what people believe, that to eat healthily takes a lot out of you, both out of your pocket or out of your time or out of your taste buds. And what we hope to deliver are recipes that are both affordable, actually not just both, affordable, easy, and nutritious, and hopefully in doing so allows more people to choose them and fulfill their ambition of living a healthy lifestyle. So the purpose of the Eat Well, Live Well Institute also is about driving positive behavior change, because it isn't only about education, right? When we issue a bit of education, we want people to take action on it, and that's a behavior change that we speak about. And as we are on their side to support them on that wellness journeys, we recognize that we have a huge role to play. Now, on one of the campaigns that we ran earlier this year was the 28 Days to 28th May health campaign ahead of World Nutrition Day, which we found to be a very pivotal moment to be able to drive awareness of everyone's need to live a healthier and more nutritious life. So we partnered with a number of mummy and daddy bloggers and influencers to help reach ordinary South Africans during this campaign. So here's the campaign video to give you an idea of the kind of work coming out of the Eat Well, Live Well Institute. So the type of campaigns that Tiger Brands and the Eat Well, Live Well Institute is aiming to put forward to the communities at large. And you can expect much more of it going forward. I'd now like to turn the attention through to Becky Opdyke, who's Tiger Brands' Chief Marketing Officer. Now, she's responsible for energizing South Africa's and Africa's largest food manufacturers' core purpose of nourishing and nurturing more lives every day. And as a parent and a vegetarian, she nurtures a very clear understanding of what this entails. Now, her role entails quite a lot, but predominantly for this particular conversation, it's about spearheading marketing strategies that are centered on understanding consumers' needs and wants while driving product innovations that prioritize quality and nutrition. And with that introduction, I would like to now hand you over to Becky. Becky, welcome, and over to you.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Sarvesh, for that very warm welcome that you just gave to me and the introduction of Eat Well, Live Well to everybody on the call today. So thank you all for being here. It is not lost on us that 2020 and 2021 have been some of the most challenging years in South Africa's young democracy, especially when it comes to food security, which is so vital to maintain a strong and healthy nation. At the same time as struggling to access food, South Africans have been trying to stay safe and healthy from the impacts of the COVID pandemic. We've done a lot of research, as you will soon see, and we have found that since the start of the pandemic, more than 3/4, 81% of the population have claimed that their food preferences and choices are driven by health benefits, followed by cost at 47% and availability at 33%. We now have the highest unemployment rate in recent history. This is said to be the biggest challenge facing our economy. 76% of South Africans regularly run out of money before the end of the month, according to a recent study by Worldwide Works. COVID-19 and then ongoing effects of the July riots and any future unrest continue to widen that inequality gap. And these impacts will be felt for years to come, and food security will remain at the top of mind for many. This means that many South Africans have to stretch their rands even further to support more people while still trying to provide much needed essentials for their immediate families. We are acutely aware that our food choices and eating behaviors largely become a force of habit, and habits are hard to change. These are often predominantly shaped by our socioeconomic predictors such as culture, upbringing, LSM or socioeconomic measure, employment status, where we live, as well as the affordability and accessibility of various types of food. Indeed, last year's report spent a lot of time and highlighted the fact that South Africans are overweight and often obese, with an average BMI or body mass index of 35.1. The reality is that we have a complex nutrition situation in South Africa, one that touches on hunger, on health concerns, and on obesity, factors that can even be considered to be in conflict with one another. The health crisis needs to be urgently addressed through deliberate and ongoing partnerships between public and private sectors alongside various industry and educational stakeholders. No single party can do it alone, and we all have a role to play. Before my colleagues deep dive into the findings of this year's State of Nutrition in South Africa report, I'd like to briefly talk to you about Eat Well, Live Well, its role within Tiger Brands, as well as how it fulfills the company's new nutrition strategy for a healthier future for all. These are some of the ways that we are trying to make a difference during these challenging times. At Tiger